Hello, guys. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Let's Talk Education Africa podcast. Today, we have a unique actor who is doing something really interesting in the education space. Today, with me in studio is Elizabeth Peru Eremiye. I hope I got the pronunciation correct.
Yes, you did.
Fantastic, fantastic. Oh, I tried. Thank God for trying. Okay, so let's delve straight in. Elizabeth. Okay, welcome again. I'd like you to share a particular context in your childhood that you believe has influenced the path that you are on today. So specifically the area of tech and then education.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So growing up, my father worked. He was a mechanical engineer. Mm-hmm. My mom had four of us in quick succession with 2-year breaks, I believe, in between. I think, between myself and my immediate younger brother, there's only just 1 year, actually.
Oh, wow.
So she had us in quick succession. So she obviously needed help around the house. And so we had a bunch of relatives coming and going. So it seemed inconsequential at the time, but it seems to have formed the trajectory I am now on. A very big part of my growing up was listening to African folk stories from my relatives, my aunties, my grandma. So, and I love those folk stories because I have a vivid imagination. So it's always had this power to transport me from my home into it was always like this very immersive experience for me every time I heard a folk story. So those stories stayed with me. And so when I grew up and I finished my first diploma, I was at a loss. I did not know what to do with my life. So I decided, my grandma had just passed, so I decided to start curating those stories because I was starting to forget some of them. And so a friend suggested I should do a mobile application instead because at that time smartphones were getting more popular and mobile applications were the in thing. So he had IT skills and I had voiceover skills. So we put together a mobile app that narrates that narrated an African folk story, the story of, in Nigerian stories, I know in Ghanaian stories, it's usually centered around Anansi. Nigerian stories are usually centered around either the hare, that's the rabbit, or the tortoise, being the crafty ones. So yeah, we narrated one of those stories, and surprisingly, it won several awards, and then we were like, yeah, there seems to be something here. So there seems to be something here, and so that's how I ended up on the trajectory I currently am on.
Interesting. Listening to you, I'm beginning to. I mean, with the number of people I speak to, I tend to pick up on how certain little things that happen in our childhood really influence the sort of paths that we tread on later on in the future. So I heard stuff like African folk stories. There was the voiceover bit, and then there was the collaboration with somebody who was good in IT, so /tech, and where the two of you came together to birth the company that you have now. Tell us a little bit about the voiceover bits. Where did it come from? Was it like, oh, you have a nice voice and then you just went into it? Tell us, give us a background story.
Funny enough, that was kind of it actually. Well, my diploma was in mass communication.
Right.
So I studied that for 2 years. I couldn't continue because I had to get a job. So, and then somebody told me, yeah, you have a nice voice. You can obviously, but at that time, I couldn't get a job at a radio station. So someone said, why not join the gig economy and be a freelance voiceover artist? So yeah, I created profiles on Upwork.com and Fiverr.com back then. And that's how I started. It was something to do for fun, actually. It wasn't, at that time, I didn't actually see it as something that was going to become like a huge part of my career path.
Right.
So, but so many chance things. It's funny how so many chance occurrences in our lives end up forging really solid pathways. I'm finding those coincidences funny these days.
I know I can relate on a certain level, but that will be another story for another day. With the African folk stories that you share with your company, which we'll delve into in a moment, right? Are they in local languages or they're in English?
So we were advised to reach as broad an audience as possible. So we translated it to, we created a new app that teaches foundation reading skills to preschoolers. And that one, we recorded it in English, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Swahili, and French, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the languages we have for now.
Okay. All right. So before we enter and speak about your company and the wonderful stuff that you're doing, I'd like your take on the adoption of tech in education today. Your quick take.
Well, it's all over the place in the West, in the global North, obviously, but it's very, very slow coming on in the African continent. So it's a very welcome occurrence, obviously. Tech in early childhood education has been bad-mouthed. Where it was bad-mouthed a few years ago, but I think people are coming around to the realization that screens are here to stay. I mean, there is no way, if you choose to raise a child without access to tech, you're doing that child a disservice. So, but it's only accessible to a privileged few, not the majority, and that is sad. But the hope for people like us who use tech for education is that we can make it accessible to the majority of African children in our lifetime. So that's the hope.
In your submission, you were highlighting the fact that there's, if you like, slow adoption of tech. That was, if you like, in the past. Do you think, in your opinion, that some of the concerns that's had been raised and are still being raised with the, if you like, the acceleration of tech, etc., is valid, i.e., especially when it comes to children? Do you think it should be just the wholesale adoption of tech and, let every child have a screen, let everything go on the screen, let's leverage on tech and just squeeze all the juice out of it? What's your take on that?
No. I mean, there's a cliche saying too much of everything is bad.
Okay.
So no, we shouldn't squeeze all the juice out of it. There's concrete research that suggests that too much screen time leads to impaired cognitive development and all of that. But even that aside, not to talk of like the obvious ones like eye strain and posture and all of that. What I believe is the biggest disadvantage of tech in education is it isolates people. Human beings, we're supposed to be social creatures. We're supposed to mingle. We're supposed to interact. We're supposed to learn how to build relationships. And those things happen really, really young. You learn those skills from before you start going to school. So, and if you can't get it in those early years, you become a very, very socially awkward person in adulthood. So no, I don't advocate a wholesale adoption of technology in education. There should still be some element of human interaction involved. And well, we can't learn everything from machines, obviously, which is where the world seems hell-bent on going. But fingers crossed. That's the area where I'm actually happy that Africa is slow in the uptake of technology, because the West seems to be hell-bent on bringing about the occurrence of what we watched in Terminator 30 years ago. I don't know what that's about.
Interesting. Anyway, let's transition straight into Zinafri. I hope I mentioned the name correctly.
Yes, you are.
Zinafri. Okay, tell us about this exciting company of yours called Zinafri and what it does.
When Zinafri was founded, we wanted it to be a tech-enabled company that designs and develops content, educational content, geared towards the education of the African child, holistic education of the African child. So we weren't only interested in classroom skills like literacy, learning how to read and write, and math skills and all of that. We also wanted to, because a big part of African culture is what those stories did for us was they taught us morals. They were those first things that taught you how to relate with people. It's very much a part of why we do what we're doing. We don't just want kids to be smart in school. We want them to be smart human beings as well. So when we started, that was the aim, to be a tech-enabled company. But then with as we mentioned before, the slow adoption of tech in our school systems, we veered a bit towards multimedia instead. I mean, it seemed like a no-brainer when we first started. Like we should have continued on the trajectory of multimedia, but I guess tech was the buzzword at that time, so we went with the flow. But now we've come back towards multimedia, so we're creating more of audiovisual content that can be distributed via low-tech means, so that cartoon videos, nursery rhymes, audio recordings that can be played on radio in rural settlements and like IDP camps and all of that. So yeah, that's a summary. Okay, so to reiterate, Zinafri is a multimedia / EdTech company that designs, builds, and develops educational content geared towards the holistic education of the African child.
Sounds about right. Sounds exciting as well. On another leg, it sounds quite broad. So which areas have you been focusing on?
Well, we've been focusing on K-12.
Okay.
But with emphasis on early childhood. So our content thus far has been mostly adopted and jingles and music, and that's what they respond to. I know, I mean, if anyone listening has kids, you would have heard of Baby Shark and Coco Melon and all of those. So right. That's what they seem to respond to. So that's what we're doing. Right. So it's been an interesting journey, actually.
With what you spoke about the fact that it was a multimedia tech company, I mentioned that it's on one leg sounded a bit broad, so I wanted to ask what focus you are beginning with, or what focus you are on now. And you mentioned that it was from K to 12 years, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So we're still a bit broad, but okay. Currently, what we have decided to do to marry both is to build like a platform, a website where we can. It will just function as a repository for all of our content, and would also open it up to be able to curate content from African creators as well. Okay. So the goal is to have educational content created for the African child by African creators. Right. So, but we want to focus on multimedia because that's where our strengths lie. The web platform, my partner is the one who's building it, but I think it will get to a point where he will just hire somebody whose responsibility it would be to like manage it and grow it and just look after it, because our passion is multimedia. Right. We love video. We love every aspect of story writing, script writing, story development, video, audio, animation, and all of that. So the tech bit is not, yes, animation. Right. 2D and 3D animation, yeah.
It sounds really exciting. Really, really exciting. I think I should know of a Ghanaian firm doing something similar. But anyway, I digress. So there was
no, please. What's their name?
So there's this
no, we have to check them out now.
Yeah, sure. I think it's Animax FYB, if I'm not mistaken. So they are focused really
Animax FYB.
Yeah, Animax FYB, I think. They are also focused on telling, if you like, contextual African stories with and so they do a lot of animation, and there's the storytelling bits, there's the script writing bits, and yeah, they're doing some really amazing stuff. So I mean, whilst you were talking,
that's so cool.
Yeah, I was just connecting the dots on that level. I mean, whilst I was researching you, I saw the bits that spoke about teaching children in their native languages and in the context they understand. There was also the bits that says that we teach children across the world about African culture, history, languages, and heritage. Are you still focused on that, one? And then two, if yes, why is that important to you as a company?
So yes, we're definitely still focused on that. That is the overriding mission of the company. And it is important to me because I mean, another disadvantage of that tech has brought and social media is a lot of westernization has sort of crept in, and now African culture no longer looks cool, So I believe a person's culture is a person's grounding, is a person's anchor. It's like your root system, so to speak. And if you want to enslave a person, take away the person's belief in culture. And I believe a lot of our problems, a lot of Black problems today stem from the fact that we have been taught to believe that our ways are backward. And it is not, because science is steadily every day proving that our ways of doing things were and are superior to Western ways. Ethnomedicine will always trump Western medicine. I mean, there is an aspect of African culture, like our culture is very, very intermingled with our belief in a spiritual world, and that not everything can be explained. And we are okay with that. Like, it's fine. And it should be the belief that is shared by every person, or at least every child. Every child should grow up believing that there is a part of life, there are aspects of life that are unexplainable. There are aspects of life that cannot be controlled. There are aspects of life that are up to a higher being, and I should be okay with it. I believe it makes for a more grounded person. So Yeah, and we are we are at a stage. I don't know how it is in other countries, but of like about 10 years ago, the Nigerian government decided to scrap history as a subject from the school curriculum. I don't know what informed that decision. And I mean,
Forgive me,
my people
by
have a saying that
history.
if you don't know where you're coming,
Mm-hmm. By history, do you mean
if you don't know where
Nigerian
you're,
history?
yes, Nigerian history.
Oh wow, okay.
Nigerian history, African history, world
African
history,
history.
history as a subject. Yeah,
Interesting.
history as a subject. You can't study history as a subject in Nigerian schools.
That's interesting.
I think they still have it as a course at university level. While I was at ABU, I think I was a history department, but I mean that was more than 10 years ago. I don't know if it still exists now. So if you don't know where you're coming from, how do you know where you're going to? So that's another thing. That's another thing that's informed why we're doing what we're doing. We want children to grow up knowing who they are, where they come from, why it's important to take pride in your heritage and in your identity. Because my daughter is 3 years old. The other day she said, Mommy, I want to use your makeup, that I want to make my face lighter. I don't like my face because it's dark.
Oh wow.
And I had to sit I'm telling you, I had to sit my 3-year-old down and explain to her why brown is beautiful, white is beautiful, why the rainbow has 7 colors and they are all beautiful. I asked her if the rainbow was only one color, would it be beautiful? She said, I guess not. I said, you see, so all the different colors are beautiful. So and because on YouTube and on TV, and a lot of the characters don't look like her. She keeps telling me she wants long hair. And I tell her, your hair is beautiful, baby. So it's things like this. I see them on a daily basis. And I started doing this thing before I even had kids. So now I'm just more gingered, to like go full hog. If there is one thing I want to leave on this earth, is to make my 2 girls believe that they are beautiful just the way they are. And if I can do that, and if by extension, I can influence 2 other girls to have that same belief, then my work is done.
I mean, you are sharing a lot of things that are happening in real time. I dare say across the continent. Things like some of the things your daughter, highlighted about wanting makeup that is going to make it lighter. She wanted to change her hair. I mean, it goes back to, I think, the comment you or the answer you gave when I asked the question about whether the adoption of tech wholesale and the concerns that if you like, the people in the education space or even across it, going all the way to the governmental level, are concerned about when it comes to now it's not so subtle, but it looks like the the increasing infiltration of other cultures into ours, to where our culture is not, or is being made to not to look attractive, and it's
not valued anymore.
It's not exactly, it's not valued. And you mentioned something that I really liked about the fact that language is a person's grounding, and that it's their roots, right? And I mean, tying that purpose to what your company does, Zinafri does, I think it's wonderful and it's amazing. And I'd encourage you and all others listening to me who are doing something that is promoting the African culture to continue to push ahead, because I think there's there are a lot of things going on that I'm tempted to say makes me quite sad on a level, and yeah, it's exciting to find people like you who are making a big difference in the space. I saw a highlight on the native languages, which I'd like you to touch on further. I wanted you to touch on the native language bits, right? And I read something some years ago that said that with every language that you speak, the mind tends to think in that language, right? And so I'm guessing that in order to promote African culture, promote African heritage, promote thinking, feeling, respecting and admiring the African language or most of the African languages, there should be some particular focus that should be paid attention to it. So with your rollout of the creative stuff that you're putting out, is there a specific focus on the use of local languages to communicate whatever, if it's storytelling, if it's the animation that you're doing? Is there a focus on that? Or it's
yes,
all English?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, it's not all English. So the audio recordings that we're doing and currently broadcasting on local radio stations, we dub them in English and indigenous languages. So if it's going to be played in a Kaduna radio station, for example, it will be played in Hausa. If it's going to be played in Enugu, it will be played in Igbo. If it's going to be played in Ogun State, it's going to be played in Yoruba. And then in the major cities, then it's played in English. That's Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja. But all regional stations receive a tape. Well, they get to choose if they want the English or the language of the region. Although the three major languages are languages that everybody in the region speaks, but in those regions there are also local dialects and other languages, but almost everybody speaks one of the three major languages. So we believe we have that covered.
Okay. And what has the reception been like so far?
Oh, it's great. It's great. Like we can't really travel because of the insecurity on the road. So we can't really travel to see real time and to collect data to see what level of impact the broadcasts are having. But we receive glowing reports from the stations that we're interacting with, and that they say they get people calling in or people sending messages and interacting and saying, wow, that they really like this stuff and there should be more of it. So yeah, we are not really at capacity to do it at the scale that we would like.
Okay.
We're still building towards that. So fingers crossed, in the next 5 to 10 years, we should be able to be like a recognized slot on the radio and on the TV.
Right.
And online as well.
I wanted to pick your thoughts quickly.
Another reason why we want to...
Sorry. No, you go on.
I just wanted to add that it's another reason why we want to open up our platform to indie creators, because we would want to encourage the indie creators as much as possible to submit content in their indigenous languages, so that we'll be able to reach a wider audience across the continent. Right. Because we can't do it alone, obviously. Even doing the three major Nigerian languages is a very, very big stretch on our limited resources.
That's interesting. I wanted to pick your thoughts quickly on the use of local languages as the mode of communication, especially for children. So maybe from nursery, KG. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really important because, well, coming back to me again, my husband is not from my place. I speak my native language really well. I'm Tiff from Benue State. Okay. He is from Rivers State. He doesn't speak his native language. He never learned it. And I would very much love for my girls to be able to speak an indigenous language. So thankfully my mom lives nearby, so she interact with them in TIV from time to time. So they're picking up a word here, a word there. My hope is for them to be able to, because me, when I was growing up, my mom insisted in the house, you only speak TIV. So that was my first language. I'm glad she did. She was like, when you go off to school, you can speak any language you want. So I'm glad I did. And I feel it is very important because it's a form of identity to be able to say, I belong to this ethnic group in Nigeria. This is where I come from. If I meet somebody who speaks this language and I speak the language with them, I immediately acquire a brother or a sister. So it's important for me, for children to be able to communicate in at least one indigenous African language.
Right.
Because our indigenous languages are even dying out. I think there is research that says an indigenous language dies out every year on the African continent. And it's just sad. Like, all the statistics are just sad. So even if we're left with just the big ones, it's still okay. At least let's still have an identity that is ours,
I 100%,
not adopted.
I 100% agree with you. Let's jump onto some exciting stuff I managed to catch wind of. I saw the Johnson & Johnson Champions of Science Africa Storytelling Challenge winner, Elizabeth. Tell us about that.
Sometimes we receive, because we've been in the space for almost a decade now, sometimes when there are call for applications, we receive a request from the people running the competition that we should send in an application. And then, but most other times, it's just my partner solves opportunities for Africans, like on a daily basis. So anytime this calls open up, most of them show on opportunities for Africans, and we just send in an application and hope for the best. So that's what happened. Yeah, I was supposed to travel to the US for the convening and the prize giving Kiniko, and the US embassy did not give me that visa. I was so disappointed.
Oh, wow.
I was like, yeah, this is important. I need to go.
Right. Oh, I saw the video.
Because that would have been a huge platform, and it would have opened up so many doors for us, because the US is actively looking for initiatives like ours to invest in, to be able to grow our indigenous African cultures and all of that. So, but it's okay. I believe everything happens in time, in its own time.
Right. Elizabeth Perum Eremiye, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for the insights that you shared. Thank you for the good work you and your team are doing to change the consciousness of the children across the continent, one child at a time. It was really exciting talking to you. I hope the audience have picked up a thing or two, at least on the entrepreneurship side, the aspect of purpose when it comes to business, and just generally the good work you're doing.